Well, hello there. My name's Cormac O'Kane, and today I'm going to present you my new report, which is based on the new Netflix show Lock and Key. Well, today I'm just going to present it to you of all the information that I've gathered. I've done research. I've done the background. I've explained what the show's about and how it's come to be and how it's been reviewed. So that's just a brief start. Let's begin with it. So firstly, this this is just the introduction page, as usual, so nothing to worry about there, so let's begin the next one. So, Lock and Key is a fantasy horror TV show which is created for Netflix. It tells the story of three young kids who move to the old home of their deceased father's family. They discover magical keys that allow you to unlock doors that make you do supernatural things. Throughout the show, the three of them protect the keys from an evil monster who is pretty much trying to take the keys and use them for her own sinister purpose, which is quite bad. Well, the first thing I'm going to explain is the audience ratings for the show because technically, without audience ratings, it can't live without the audience ratings. From the research that I have analyzed, when it came to the ratings for the show, I discovered that basically on its first week after it launched on February 7th, it had gained about 10 million profiles. Well, in a Netflix perspective, that would be quite a healthy start because mainly hit shows on Netflix would gain between 10 to 15 million viewers on in its first week. When I discovered the peak, which was about 3 weeks later, it managed to reach 40 million views. Well, that's pretty decent, and that's roughly not almost half of registered Netflix users online. The way in which Netflix was able to compile these figures is that basically they use the same cycle that they use for almost every show that they create. From shows like Stranger Things, House of Cards, and blah blah blah, the usual suspects. The way it works is that when the show is released, they assign one employee who would who works for Netflix, and they basically would keep an eye on the show for during its initial run to see how what are people saying, how the review is, blah blah blah. And then basically after 30 days, which is usually the cutoff point, and that is part of Netflix's code of conduct, they basically what they basically do is that basically what they basically do is that basically after this that employee gathers all their information and then they provide the information to the supervisor, and then that supervisor will pass it along to the board of Netflix, and then Netflix then have a decision to choose whether they will renew it or what. Well, technically there's no deadline for the board to make a decision. They can wait 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever, and that's pretty alright. But they usually do make a decision very quickly. Another thing that I did was that I analyzed a lot the show's social media platforms, and basically I checked both two of the most popular social media sites that are popular for shows like Instagram and Netflix. And on Instagram they have a total of 181,000 followers, and on Twitter they have 14,500 followers, which is pretty healthy in my perspective. For my qualitative audience research, I've used the modern website Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty much the biggest which is basically the biggest review website on the internet, and it pretty much provides information for almost every TV, movie on the face of the earth. And basically, what I discovered is is that basically the show it has a 66 approval rating from critics, so 66% approval, and then that, according to that is a 44% disapproval. So that's a pretty healthy one, and its audience review is 70%. So 70% is pretty much healthy for him. So basically, audience do like its style. Other research that I've done is that basically I checked the Netflix's marketing department after, and then basically I looked at a lot of the reviews that a lot of Netflix viewers were what they said about the show, and then basically here are some of them now. Like they say that the show is one of the best new shows for Netflix for 2020. And that basically it's pretty much a teen drama, which is quite an interesting comment, and but it doesn't go full Hill House. Well, Hill House is pretty much similar, but it's more modern, like kind of like a soap opera, but it's still a popular hit. And also, if you look at the other comment down below, it also says that basically the acting performances from the main actors was pretty much spot on, and I would actually give them credit for that. And it is quite a good. There are when I did watch the show, the audience was it was pretty good. So basically, I would give them that. For the audience classifications, I did look at it, and that was pretty much the easiest part I had to do, and it was basically as easy as pie. So basically, I checked both IMDb and Netflix, which is pretty much handy. So basically, I discovered that it classifies as age 15 because when you watch the show, there are scenes of where there is violence, and there's also one of the titles of the episode called Ray of F effing Sunshine. So we're not supposed to get that. But another thing I noticed is that basically there is a lot of violence in it because like there is always a very sinister demon, and sinister does come in the word sinister does actually kind of work quite scary, and that is the way it works. And plus, if you look at it, there is a bit of romance in the show, and it does have a lot of those corners. Like there is, in the end, the lead girl can the lead girl Kenzie, she actually dates the dates one of her friends, and basically so is with her brother Tyler, which is kind of pretty much how most teenagers end up in most of these shows. And another thing I did was that I basically looked at is that basically I did look at their they also revealed that basically they have is that basically they have a high percentage between the ages of 15 and 24, and 85% of their viewers were between that age, which is pretty normal, and that's quite good. And another thing, if you're a bit confused, is that basically, if you don't know what IMDb is, it's an online database which provides information about different forms of media like films, TV, video games, and online content, which is pretty much the way it goes. And they would reveal information from the synopsis, the cast, reviews, the ratings, what countries released in, the year, blah 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 blah, the usual information. But it provides acknowledgement to the show, to every form of media content there is. Sorry about that. But the thing that happens is that, basically, if the basically, so the main thing is if the show does not have an IMDb page, it does not exist. So pretty much you need one of these if you want to be well known. So that's the honest thing. For the age demographics, as I mentioned before in the last slide, I did mention that it was aged between 15 to 24-year-olds, and that is, I believe, is the target audience, and it has an 85% percentage of that. And I do believe that is the age demographic that Netflix were aiming at when they launched the show. And if you look at, there are areas that basically the reason why I believe is that because if you look at the show itself, the age two, both Tyler and Kinsey, are both in the ages between 15 and 24, and they are two of the three central characters in the show. The other point I would like to make is that basically a lot of people would have been saying that the show is a combination of two other hit shows streamed on Netflix, which are Friends, which is, well, we all know Friends. It's basically a hit TV. It was a hit TV show that ran from 1994 to 2004, and it has now a resurgence in today's modern world, and it's become a hit with more young people. And Stranger Things is actually what launched the binge watching of Netflix TV shows, and that's pretty much what made Netflix a hit for new TV shows. And another reason why I think it's between the ages between 15 and 24 is that all the secondary characters like Kinsey and Tyler's friends are all in that age as well, and they also have and then also in the end they also dispose of the is that they dispose is that when they dispose of the demon's body, they actually get their friends to help them during the process. And now finally, I'm gonna give you a conclusion about it, and it's pretty much straightforward. I do I do have a positive note for it. I do have a positive note for it, and basically I do have some criticism of it. Well, the first thing I would like to say is the criticism of it is that basically even though it would count as another, even though the show would count as another Netflix classic, however, they do have a bit of a stretch to get. They do have sort of a stretch to get to if they want to be a hit. If it wants to be a hit show, if it wants to be a hit show like all the other ones, like Stranger Things, House of Cards, Breaking Bad, and Sex Education, the big ones that well that is that big. And basically, one thing I can give, which is a positive, is a step. Is that it is putting a step in the right direction. So basically, it is becoming. It does basically give. It does give. It does give. Deliver its message across. But basically, if it does get a second series, which I hopefully will get, which it hopefully will get, and it's most likely that there is. I don't think they would give. I think it would look bad if they just only had this for one season, and that would be bad publicity. And basically, if they do get this, and if they do play the cards right, they will. I do believe that they can make this into another hit show, and that's basically my analysis of the Netflix show Lock and Key. Well, that's just my conclusion about it. Well, but one thing for a bit brief information about, I actually wrote this a few weeks ago, but it was basically, I discovered that basically I did a bit more accessing, and basically when I did this report, on the same day that I wrote it, I actually discovered that Netflix had announced that they had renewed the series for a second season. And so basically it will return for a second season, and I believe that is a good start. So it will get its chance, and it will work. But basically, we may have to wait a while until the second series is gets launched. But because of the current pandemic that is going on in the outside world, and basically, but it will return, which is the good thing. Um, that's pretty much my presentation there, and thank you so much for listening, and God bless, and take care. Bye bye.